Yeah, man. That you know, every
Once they get in power, shoot, all the promises they made don't come out of that.
oh yeah, yeah. It didn't take long for him to go ahead and kind of switch it up. You know, people. It was just like back in the day. I remember being in elementary school. You had George Bush Senior, the older George Bush. His famous slogan was "No new taxes, no new taxes." Like, yeah, it's easy to say that until you actually get up in that White House, because in America, it's gonna always be more new taxes. So you can stop with all that type of no new taxes. What's up, Dominic? I see you up in the spot.
I know about that, man. I was on the Bush. I was stationed on CB. That's the thing is CBN 77, if I remember right, the George Bush. I was stationed on there for a little bit. But somebody brought it up, man. And I don't, I'm probably about to butcher this, but it's really messed up that we have to work and then we get taxes taken off of our work, and then we go to buy food. We get taxed in. Like everything we do, and no matter what we do, we're always getting taxed, taxed, taxed. It's like this is seriously a finesse. Like, damn, I would get taxed on everything. How you
Because
gonna tax me? How you gonna tax me to fucking get my money, and then when I go to buy food, I get taxed again?
the government says that if they don't tax you, then how you gonna pay for the roads and the schools and the firefighters and the police and this and that? They saying that the taxes that our tax your tax dollar goes into the improvement into society. So that's how they finesse it, and that's how they play it or whatever. It's like, yeah, well, if you want those new roads paved and you want this and that or whatever, then we got to tax you.
Man, please. Let me tell you, bro. I lived in Georgia all my life. They've been working on I-75 20, 30 damn years. They still ain't got that motherfucker right. Oh, I ain't trying to hear that. They finesse.
Oh yeah, I mean, here in Florida, I mean, 95. Look how long. I mean, they never gonna stop. They're never gonna stop working on these major highways and stuff like that. It's constant money into it. So yeah, I'm with you on that. It's gonna always be they gonna always find a way to go ahead and get that money or whatever. And the taxes just constantly keep going up. Look at the property taxes here in Florida and everything else as well too. It's sky high. So yeah, I mean, I think our insurance is going up, our property tax is going up here in Florida. So it's no relief in sight, and it got to the point that it was so bad that a lot of people, we could the insurance in terms of getting your mortgage, it was hard to cover here in Florida as well too. You had a lot of companies that didn't want to do business in the state of Florida.
Yeah, definitely, brother. That's kind of why I'm glad I'm a veteran. We get a little bit of relief on things like that, man. But I just can't imagine, man. Like I can't imagine how bad things are gonna be for my kids or my grandkids 30 or 40 years from now, because things are bad right now. It's gotten to the point where people literally just get off work, go in and have a little bit of time to watch Netflix or something. They shower and then they go back to work. Like there's no real life until the weekend.
Hey, you're not lying, and like you say, it's only gonna get worse too, man. Like more people spend more time at work than they do with their actual families and stuff like that. And it's getting to the point that you need a second job or you need some kind of hustle on the side just to make it. And like you say, for the next generation, they're gonna be getting squeezed, and that's why the whole immigration thing. People think that people are being cruel and mean, and that you're trying to hurt people and stuff like that. But hey, the same way people come over here to better their lives, and the citizens that were born in this country, they want to better their lives for future generations as well too. And more and more opportunities are being taken away, especially when you're talking about illegal immigration coming in here. It's one thing, when you're talking about legal immigration, or when you talk about illegal immigration coming in here, that's really it already showed them. We did that space months ago, how it hurts, especially the unskilled black male labor market. So it's not about being cruel or anything like that to anybody. It's just being realistic. It's been proven time and time again. So and I'm gonna go ahead and get it in. I see we got more people coming in here. What's up, Bracy? What's up? Like I say, Dominique. What's up? Native Black. How you doing? How you doing? 1 and 9. How you doing, Rio? I don't know if I've ever seen you up in here before, but welcome to the Newstoter space. We're gonna be discussing tonight. The title is looks like Joe Biden is building Trump's border wall after all. After all of the fussing and all of the arguing and all how unfair this was and how you're hurting people and this and that or whatever, it looks like no matter what, the wall is still being built. All that talk, all that this and that or whatever, the actual wall is going to be built with funds and stuff like that. And we're going to touch up on that tonight. We're going to touch up on exactly where these funds are coming from. We're going to touch up on, some of the people that oppose the wall. You got a lot of people that's upset. A lot of people in the Democratic Party is upset. Now you got a lot of even Democrats in politics saying, hey, you know what? Because all these migrants got sent to my city, my state, we're hurting. So a lot of them behind the scenes, even though they say one thing, to go ahead and try to rally up voters and try to get a new base of voters, behind the scenes, they know that resources was getting eaten alive and that something had to be done. And the only thing is that something should have been done way before now. If something had been done way before now, situation would be as bad as it is. So we're going to touch up on that tonight. Let me give a shout out to my people over there in YouTube. Shout out to everybody that's coming up in YouTube, guys. Definitely thank you guys for supporting over there in YouTube as always. Definitely make sure you go ahead and like, share, and comment on tonight's broadcast. Also, if you have not subscribed, make sure you subscribe as well too. Up in the Jumbotron, I have the actual YouTube Twitter poll that I put up here. And let me read this Twitter poll real quick. It's up in the Jumbotron on the far right-hand side. So far, we got 50 votes. Let's see if we get more. It says, now that Joe Biden is starting new construction of the border wall, was Donald Trump right the whole time? 78% of the people said yes, 14% said no, 6% says maybe, 2% says not sure. We got 50 votes. It's up in the Jumbotron, guys. Definitely go ahead and vote in that poll. Also, go ahead and like it and retweet it out as well, too. I'm going to go ahead and let you get it in real quick, and then I'm going to go ahead and touch up on this article, and we can start the conversation up. Like I said, once again, shout out to everybody in here. Everybody in the space, too. Also, definitely go ahead and tweet the space out, guys. Definitely go ahead and tweet the space out as well. You got it, Ray.
No, I was just going to give you a little bit of pushback on something you said earlier. Said that, not that we want to be cruel, but the truth being told, maybe we need to be a little cruel because everyone is cruel to us. We are sitting around worried about other people's feelings and, worried about how they family going to make it. When they get over here, they don't worry about how our family's going to make it, not at all. So I think, honestly, we need to start being a little selfish because, all the illegal immigrants that are coming over here, where are they going? They're not going to the white community. They come to our community. They're gonna come in, set up shop, take all the money that we, are giving them. Honestly, if we just gonna be real with them, shopping with them, and they're gonna take it to their communities. And it's just like they're leeches. They're just gonna drain all of our resources to enrich themselves. So at some point, we just got to be selfish. And as far as walls go, I'm not against the wall, but I will say this: if you're gonna build anything, it needs to be effective. Because, Trump spent all this money buying this wall and stretched it all over America. But then you have these illegal immigrants that are, I've seen doors and all this other stuff that they've been building. So they're just really just coming through it. So if you're going to build it, at least put some money into having people patrolling on both sides to make sure, people aren't speaking over or something. Like if you're going to do it right. Just building a wall and just leaving it and then, people cutting it, cutting pieces and chunks out of it, going through anyway. That's how they're doing it.
That's what's up. That's what's up, Ray. Can't say I disagree with a lot with what you said. Go ahead and touch up on this article. It's up in the Jumbotron as well, too, guys. I didn't get a chance to put the article up on YouTube, guys, so forgive me for that. The article is up in the Jumbotron. It's from NBC News, curator on the Newstoter.com platform. It says, Biden administration waives federal laws to allow border wall construction in Texas. In a striking acknowledgement of the need to address the migrant influx at the southern border, the Biden administration announced it waived 26 federal laws to permit more border wall construction in southern Texas, a move that builds on one of the most controversial cornerstones of the Trump administration. The Department of Homeland Security posted the announcement overnight in the Federal Registry, which said the administration was waiving federal laws such as the Clean Air Act, the Safe Drinking Water Act, and the Endangered Species Act for the wall construction in Starr County, Texas, using federal funds appropriated in 2019. There's presently an acute and immediate need to construct physical barriers and roads in the vicinity of the border of the United States in order to prevent unlawful entries into the United States and project areas, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said in a notice. And a statement, a spokesperson for the U.S. Customs and Border Protection noted that Mayorkas issued waiver under federal immigration law for a barrier project that was quietly announced in June, which will be constructed on about 17 miles in Starr County. Congress appropriated fiscal year 2019 funds for the construction of border barrier in the Rio Grande Valley, and DHS is required to use those funds for the appropriated purpose. The CBP spokesperson said, adding that the project was consistent with President Joe Biden's proclamation after taking office that ended the use of military funds for border wall construction and using money provided by Congress instead. CBP remains committed to protecting the nation's cultural and natural resources and will implement sound environmental practices as a project covered by this waiver, the spokesperson said. White House spokesperson Angelo Hernandez deferred to the CBP for comment, noting the agency's announcement in June to proceed with the planning and execution of about 20 miles of border barrier in the Rio Grande Valley. The administration's new announcement marks a major policy reversal for Biden, who vowed that not another foot of wall will be constructed under his administration during his 2020 campaign. Upon taking office in 2021, he also issued an executive order which read in part, it shall be by the policy of my administration that no more American taxpayers' dollars be diverted to construct a border wall. Building a massive wall that spans the entire southern border is not a serious policy solution. It is a waste of money that diverts attention from genuine threats to our homeland security. Notably, the administration's most recent announcement on border wall construction waives environmental laws to speed up the project at a time when it faces increasing pressure from fellow Democrats to take action at the border. In response to the move, former President Donald Trump accused Biden of breaking every environmental law in the book to prove that I was right in a post on his Truth Social platform Thursday morning. As I have stated often over thousands of years, there are only two things that have consistently worked: wills and walls, Trump wrote. Will Joe Biden apologize to me in America for taking so long to get moving and allowing our country to be flooded with 15 million illegal immigrants from places unknown? He added, I'll wait his apology. The announcement comes days after Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, a Democrat, called on Biden to step up action on an untenable migrant crisis in the state. He demanded an overhaul to the system, saying that Illinois resources were beyond strain after Texas officials bused more than 15,000 migrants to the state in the past year. He criticized the White House for a lack of intervention and coordination at the border. Unfortunately, the welcome and aid Illinois has been providing to these asylum seekers has not been matched with support by the federal government. He wrote in a letter Monday to Biden. Most critically, the federal government is a lack of intervention and coordination at the border has created an untenable situation for Illinois. On Sunday, Princeton Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, as well as White House Chief of Staff and Senior Advisor Tom Perez, participated in what the White House later characterized as a productive conversation on the matter. New York City Mayor Eric Adams also called on the Biden administration to address the influx of migrants, saying that they were overwhelming the city resources. Following heavy lobby from New York's top Democrat officials, Adams went to address the issue. The Biden administration last month granted temporary protected status to hundreds of thousands of Venezuelan migrants who crossed the border without legal documentation, allowing them the right to legally obtain work. A White House official told NBC News that the administration's decision to waive environmental laws to build more of a border wall is not tied to the mounting pressure from Democrats. But in the notice published in the Federal Register, Mayorkas drew a direct connection to the recent influx of migrants at the southern border, calling the Rio Grande Valley an area of high illegal entry. As of early August 2023, Border Patrol had encountered over 245,000 such entrants attempting to enter the United States between ports of entry in the Rio Grande Valley sector in fiscal year 2023. Mayorkas wrote, he said that required him to use his authority to install additional physical barriers and roads in the Rio Grande Valley and his department to take immediate action to construct barriers and roads. Press about Biden's previous comments rejecting the construction of more border wall during his presidency, the White House official said the administration had no choice but to use the money Congress appropriated in 2019 during the Trump administration. In order to follow the law, we had to use this money, the official said, adding that the timing of the environmental waiver was related to the end of the fiscal year. Mallorca's, however, struck a more urgent tone in the notice released overnight that there is presently an acute and immediate need to construct physical barriers and roads in the vicinity of the border of the United States in order to prevent unlawful entries into the United States in the project areas. On Wednesday, according to the internal CBP data, CBP encountered nearly 10,000 undocumented immigrants crossing the border, over 8,200 of whom crossed illegally. The number of crossings was slightly down from the daily record of 11,000 reached last week and in early May, just before the expiration of the border COVID ban known as Title 42. Environmental and humanitarian organizations swiftly criticized the Biden administration's move to proceed with more border wall construction in southern Texas. You're walling off not only people from the river, but wildlife trying to get away from the river when there's a flood or getting to the water, said Jim Chapman, the president of Friends of the Wildlife Court, a nonprofit environmental group in the lower Rio Grande Valley. That's basically the only water there is there. It is basically horrible. Lycan Jahal of the Center of Biological Diversity similarly noted that the national corridor along the Rio Grande, especially the National Wildlife Refuge, is the last ribbon of habitat for a lot of species. Bulldozing a border wall through the heart of that habitat is absolutely devastating. There's a lot of nature left in South Texas. Roberto Lopez, an advocate with Beyond the Borders program at Texas Civil Rights Project, drew parallels between the Biden administration's announcement and the president's predecessor. President Obama built Bush's wall, and now Biden is building Trump's, Lopez said in the Rio Grande Valley. It's been consistent that the federal government has been building border wall over the last several years, and this is just a continuation of those policies. I'm from South Texas. I'm from these areas. It feels like a slap in the face, he added. It feels like boulders are going up when the infrastructure in these communities are struggling. So there we have it. Let me see real quick. I see my man DJ trying to get up here. So let me get you, DJ Bracy. I see you coming up here as well, too. So I'll get to you as well. And anybody else that wants to speak, definitely go ahead and request to speak as well, too. So yeah, I would imagine that you would have a lot of Mexican politicians that's not happy about that in Texas. I mean, a lot of Mexican American, I guess, politicians in Texas, they're not too keen about that. They're not too happy about that. But hey, I mean, it should have been up there. People are upset, but you can't have 200. You got, I mean, 245,000 people coming into the actual country. That's way too many. So, Bracy, I see you coming up here. Shout out to everybody up in the space tonight. Everybody definitely go ahead and tweet the space out for us. Definitely go ahead and tweet it out. Glad to have you guys up here. Shout out to my people over there. Also in YouTube world, I see Extreme. I see Love My Folks. I see Nightfall. So shout out to you guys and to the entire chat over there as well, too. Tonight we're discussing. Looks like Joe Biden is building Trump's wall after all. You can hear the gentleman at the end. I guess he was saying that the walls have been, you had Obama participating in this and you had Trump and this and that or whatever. But hey, I'm sorry, you just can't have an open door policy and just let people walk across the border. This is the probably the most open border of any nation in the world. So, I mean, we got millions and millions of people that come in here every year. And I'm sure that number's a lot higher than 245,000 as well, too. So, Bracy, what's going on? How you doing tonight?
Pretty good. How about yourself, man? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. 2 points I wanted to make. You were just making the point of you're sure that number's pretty high. Pew Research numbers indicate, as far as immigrants coming in, 150,000 people were from China, 129,000 from India, 120,000 from Mexico, and 46,000 from the Philippines. And those were 2018 numbers. Now, the 2055 projections have Asians being 38% of the population, Hispanics being 31%, whites being 20%, and blacks being 9%. Those are the projections for 2055.
2055, you saying that's 2055 is what they're projecting?
Correct. For the year 2055, of course. So now, one of the questions that I presented is, or one of the things that I think is occurring on the border as far as the wall is concerned, whoever was in power, they were eventually going to build that wall, in my opinion. And the reason I think so is because I think it's more of it falls in alignment with in many decades ago, they would have these construction projects that would take place. And they would be really busy projects, kind of like a bridge to nowhere type of thing. But of course, now when you do those type of projects, especially when they're road and highway type constructions, with the equipment and the technology, you don't need as many individuals to work on those projects. So the money doesn't get spread the way it would in many years past. You just have a handful of individuals whose company purchased the equipment, and there's just only a few people who are working on a massive project. So I think it's one of those busy projects to build the wall, and then eventually what will happen is they'll have a busy project to deconstruct the wall. So it's just a rinse and repeat in that manner. Now, the question that I kind of throw at everyone becomes, if the point of land is so one can do what they want to do, then the landowners are doing what they want to do here in America. So then we would have to look at it as, who are we if we're not landowners to say anything about what the landowners are doing with land, which snowballs into another discussion, if you will. But that's my take on it.
All right, thank you, Bracy. I want to read a couple comments over here off of YouTube. What's up, DJ? Can you hear me all right in the space? See if DJ's up in the space.
Yeah, what's up, family? I'm on the road tonight, so I'm gonna try to chime in as much as I can. What's up to the Newstoter family? One love.
Okay, I know Nightfall say, can you ask the people to speak up? Not sure the disconnect between you and the callers, but when you speak, you're really loud. Others, the thing is that we're doing this on people in the actual Twitter space, so I don't really know exactly what more we can do because I'm someplace different. They're someplace different in the actual Twitter space, so we'll try to get them to speak as loud as possible, but they're not going to be they're probably not going to be as loud as I am, so I do apologize for that there. But I want to touch up on a couple of things that you guys are saying over there and YouTube as well too. And Nightfall, I see you says, what a turnaround. Earlier this year, all the Dems were talking about taking in all these asylum seekers and making a way for them. Now all of a sudden, they want to stop the flow. Love my folks. She said, the wall overall is dumb. In the 1990s, the Hispanics used to build tunnels under the wall. The solution is to remove the cheese from the rats. Nightfall, you also said something else. Let me see if I can find that. You said Chuck Schumer was talking about allowing in another 11 million illegals earlier this month. Yeah, I know Chuck Schumer was talking about bringing in even more illegals and stuff as well too. Bracy, I know you were saying something about in 2055 that you're saying something that black people were going to be 9% of the actual population, and you were saying that Asians and stuff.
Those are Houston and research numbers as well. Yeah.
Okay, you get a chance, post that up if you can find it, post that up in the jumbotron. That is pretty interesting. It's not with the way and with the way the amount of with the way the amount of actual people are coming into this country, that wouldn't be all that shocking or surprising to me as well either. That wouldn't be all that shocking or surprising. So, I would not totally be shocked about that. The numbers you were giving, you're talking about the amount of people. And that's one thing when we think about illegals coming over here, people, they pretty much either think of the Hispanics, or they think of people even, they think maybe people from the Caribbean. It's either Hispanics or people Caribbean. Nobody thinks about Asians coming into the country illegally. Nobody ever talks about all the illegal Asians that come over here. It's always pretty much the Mexicans or the black people. But you got a bunch of people. Nobody even think about the white folks that come over here as well too. Everybody thinks that every white person comes in the country is coming here legally as well too, which is not always the case either. So we have to kind of look at some of these other people from everything. And the smallest amount of actual immigrants coming to the country are actually black people. You have your black people from Africa, and you have your black people from the Caribbean. But let's be honest, that pales in comparison to even the actual Latin America and all these other places as well too. So we got to kind of put that out there. And this tunnel and this wall thing, I'll be honest, the more I think about it, this wall, seems like it is just a symbolic thing. The United States has top-notch security, top-notch surveillance. Uh, you know, you've never heard anybody coming into this country outside of 9/11 thing, and maybe when you talk about Pearl Harbor and really, doing anything to the United States. So I find it kind of hard to believe that we're talking about a wall. First off, how big a damn wall got? You know how big Mexico is to put a wall and talk about you're going to wall it off and you're going to stop people. So you got to ask yourself, are the United States really serious about actually trying to stop the flow of illegal immigrants coming into this country? Because that wall there, that simply ain't gonna do it. You got to have manpower, backing a wall up as well. So you have to have people all throughout there. And I don't really think they're really that serious. We always heard about all these tunnels, love my folks were saying you had these drug runners, these moles and everything else, and these people had all these big tunnels and everything else coming through there. I believe wasn't the drug lord that was a Mexican or whatever, didn't he have like some kind of damn like series of tunnels where he was able to dig up out of jail and get up out of there as well too? So yeah, you can spend that money on the wall and all this other kind of stuff, but man, you got all kind of drones, you got all kind of satellites in the skies and everything else. I mean, if you really, really was serious about trying to actually put an end to it, the wall is symbolic. The wall is just another waste of taxpayer dollars as well too. The wall is good as if it's backed up by something more, and it's really not backed up by anything. Well, El Chapo, that's who it was. I thought El Chapo had this joker had like all kind of tunnels and whatnot. He found his way up out of there. I mean, come on, if El Chapo can do that in a prison, how the hell you think people coming out of there and it's tens of thousands of them, and not only that, they're being backed by cartels, they're being backed by this person, that person, bringing drugs into the country as well. And I know that's not all of the immigrants, so I'm not trying to say all of the immigrants, but a significant amount of them. They got all kind of ways to get in there, and I know most of the people not going through tunnels, but a significant amount of them are. So yeah, if the U.S. is really, really that concerned about ending this like that, they really could. Because I'm pretty sure if these people were bringing in, if this was some kind of nuclear threat, they could put an end to it, and they would have put an end to it. The same way with the drug flow into this country. If they was really, they can talk about, oh, well, we're out, man, and this and that. You got enough able-bodied people in this country that if you paid them a livable wage, they can go out there and they can patrol these areas and stuff like that. You just don't want to break bread, and you're not serious about actually trying to end this stuff as well, too. So you're playing along with it. You're making things worse and things matter, and you haven't. And I don't know what Trump. Now Trump say 15 million people. I don't know if it's I don't know the actual numbers, but he claims that Biden is responsible for 15 million illegals coming into this country. I guess he's trying to say since Biden has been president. Like I say, it is from Donald Trump too, so you got to kind of take it with a grain of salt as well. But millions have come into this country since he's been president, and millions came into this country when Trump was president as well too. So the United States has not slowed down the flow of illegal immigrants coming into this country. They can say, well, this president this president deported more people than this one, and people still getting here, and you're not deporting every single solitary illegal that gets here. You're not doing that. There are a bunch of illegals all throughout this country. Nobody really knows exactly what the real population of the United States. I hear anywhere from 330 to 350 million. Nobody knows how many people over here, because there are a bunch of undocumented people that's living in this country. There are a bunch of people that have never been counted on a census. So nobody knows exactly how many people we have living in the United States of America. For all we know, it could be 450 million people. It could be 400 million people. It could be 380 million people. Nobody truly really knows. What's up, Arenza? I see you up in the space tonight. So shout out to you. Shout out to everybody up in the space. I see you guys coming up in here. Make sure you go ahead and vote in that poll as well, too. It's on the far right-hand side. I'm going to read that poll one more time before you come up here, Arenza. It says, now that Joe Biden is starting new construction of the border wall, was Donald Trump right the whole time? We got 60 votes, guys. Let's see if we can get some more votes in that. Make sure y'all retweet that out as well, too. We got maybe like 4 retweets. Let's see if we can get everybody in the space to go ahead and retweet that out and vote as well, too. It says 82% says yes. 12% says no. 5% says maybe. 2% says not sure. So shout out to all you guys up in the space tonight as well, too. So what's up with you, Arenza?
Not too much is going on this time. Hi, everybody. This is Arenza Thickman Jr. From Alabama. I'm the supporter of Black America, American Descendant of Slave, FBA, ADOS, B1, that's me. I'm going to start out by saying that I was in another space that was talking about conflicts on the other side of the planet, and I got really pissed off because it had the undertone of white supremacy trying to justify what Netanyahu was doing. But that's another story. I'll try to hold that off till another time. But by the way, when they started talking in their foreign languages, I was talking right back to them in their foreign languages, like, shut the fuck up. All right, about the question on the wall. There isn't any technology that can be built to separate Mexico from the United States. And the stuff that they've been putting up there, the Mexicans on the other side of that wall have been taking it down and using it as their own little private wall or resource. Like I had a video clip for a long time. This one Mexican guy, he climbed up there, and the barbed wire and the stuff that they were using to keep Mexicans out, he took it down and then put it around his house to keep animals out and other stuff. So when you put up a wall, they're going to just use the materials on the other side as if they don't have to go to their hardware store. They got everything they need right there. They got nails, they got concrete, they got barbed wire, they have video cameras. They just snatch that down and use it for themselves. And I don't blame them. They're going about this the wrong way. And because of them doing that, they also have the ability as a filter to blame a presidential a person that holds the Oval Office for doing it. I mean, Trump wasn't the first president that encountered a problem with illegals coming across the border. Neither was Obama, and neither was Biden. So for them to use a presidential figure to say, oh, you're responsible for all these illegals coming, that's a complete farce. But they're using that to try to gain an edge, and that we have to play referee and say, you know what, he might have been president, but that wasn't his fault. The fault lies in the opportunities that other countries have. Mexico is surrounded by drug cartels, and the economy is based on that. So if you are a hardworking man, woman, or child in Mexico, and you're trying to get a job done, all it takes for somebody that doesn't like you, that's connected to the cartel, to exist, is to take you from your job, kill your family. There's no protection. So until Mexico creates a government that fights for its people, you're going to continue to have people coming from not just Mexico, but other countries as well. Because the Chinese are over here too. During the interview, when a lot of Mexicans were coming over into the United States, they noticed that there were people from other countries, including Syria, including Jamaica, including what's the other country? Jordan, not to mention nearby areas as well. But the gist of what I'm saying is they're running from their government's lack of ability to control things. The Mexicans were coming because of economic opportunity. Now you got people who are just coming to be coming because they want to have a life. So they want to come to a government that's stable, a government that respects people, and so on and so forth. So where I'm going with this is that until all of these governments do something to protect their economic, cultural, and governmental sovereignty, people are going to continue to leave those countries and come across that border, and they don't care what obstacles they have to go through to get here, and they're going to keep coming. So they need to come up with a plan to help those countries have a strong constitution, a strong military, strong materials, a respect for their economy, so that people can live righteously. Until that happens, expect more of this, guys. And I'll land my plane awaiting further questions or comments. They're just crazy.
Real talk. And it seems like Arinza, a lot of times it's always the conservative presidents as well too. They talk about illegal immigration and stuff like that as well too. And like I say, Donald Trump, the Bushes, and all the rest of them too. They had a bunch of illegals on their watch coming into this country as well too. I'll say this right here. It's a numbers game. When you start looking at the actual numbers of the actual people coming in here, and I think that was Bracy said that earlier, we're looking at solely just, what we can see in eyesight, and then that's what you got coming across the border and everything else. But just let's listen to some of the numbers right here. Okay, you had over in Texas bus more than 15,000 migrants they had to Illinois, I believe, in the past year. Something you had 245,000 people were trying to cross the border just from down there. The Border Patrol encountered 245,000 people in the Rio Grande Valley sector. That's just that area right there. 245,000 people. Okay, it says on Wednesday, according to the internal CBP data, they encountered nearly 10,000 undocumented immigrants crossing the border, over 8,200 of whom crossed illegally. I mean, and that's down. And they said that was actually down from 11,000. So, I mean, this is just what you see. This is just what you see. What about all the ones you don't see actually crossing? What about all the ones that actually get in here? But all the ones that actually don't have that come across anybody like that as well too. There's a whole lot of people in this country, man. Whether they crossing the border by foot, or I guess you could see them more so in Florida and stuff. You can see people when they were coming on ships and things of that nature as well too. But there are a ton of people coming through this country illegally, and like we say too, you got a bunch of them coming from Asia as well too. The Asians don't get the actual they don't get the finger pointing like a whole lot of the groups get. They kind of get a free pass on that. Love my folks. I see you say you want to get a poll on YouTube as well too. I'm gonna have to go ahead and definitely put a poll on YouTube for everybody over there as well too. Try to get us a poll on that and see what you guys think about that as well too. But it's a whole bunch of people coming here legally, man, in this country. And it's to the point now that even in these so-called sanctuary cities and states, the same ones that were saying that, hey, you know what, we're going to go ahead because we know Brandon Johnson in Chicago was a big proponent of what he's going to do for illegals. He made that a big point, doing his election in Chicago and stuff like that. Now all of a sudden everybody's crying wolf now. We can't afford this. We can't take care of this. And people try to tell you your butt that before, like, hey, there's no way you're going to be able to support this or sustain this in these cities and stuff. And you're talking about metropolis. You're talking about huge cities. You already have an issue with unemployment and crime and wages and everything else. And now you're talking about bringing in tens of thousands of people. And not only that, people that you're going to have to not only bring in here, that's coming into the country, that you have to go ahead and now have to put them in the healthcare system, put them in the education system. You're housing them, you're clothing them, you're feeding them, you're doing all this other stuff without them actually kicking into the actual system. So how do you think that's going to work? I mean, how is that supposed to work? You're supposed to have an issue with that. You're supposed to be feeling the pinch of it. But everybody was sitting here saying how cruel it was, how mean it was, and this and that. And you can't go to any of these other countries like that and just load people in. Go to China and see if 245,000 people go in there illegally, and what happens. Go to China and see what happens. It's not going to work out like that. Only in the U.S. do they sit up here and say, well, you know what? If you guys try to stop a wave of people just coming in here illegally, that you're the bad guy. It's not about being the bad guy. It's simply about, hey, that doesn't work. It doesn't work in any other area. You can't do that. In the countries that these people live in, that they're leaving from, if 245,000 people came in there within the fiscal year, it would be a problem. It would be a big, big problem. So you just simply cannot sustain all the people. And this is just the illegals. Like, everybody in the world wants to come to the United States and live. And it's like, hey, you have over 100 some odd other countries out there in the world. There's other places to live at. It just simply, I don't know how much longer the U.S. is going to be able to sustain this with the amount of people coming into the country the way it is. Eventually it has to bottom out. It has to bottom out. Bracy, go ahead and unmute your mic.
I think we underestimate how much land has been sold to those who are of Mexican descent or of Asian descent, especially China and India in particular. That's why I present the question about land and who owns the land, and the owners deciding to do what they desire to do with the land they're owning. And I say that to say, I don't mean just Americans, by no means. Now, Wachovia ended up being assumed by Wells Fargo. And what led to that was because Wachovia was laundering cartel money. And this isn't hearsay. You can find this New York Post articles, Washington Post articles, that sort of thing. addressing the story, but it was never made a significant news story, if you will. When you take that into consideration, the farms that are owned by China, when you take into consideration large farmlands that are owned by countries in which they're using massive amounts of water for frivolous things, and all of the exports are being strictly sent to those particular countries, used outside of the U.S. It's one thing to purchase the land and be of another country, to purchase U.S. land and use it to extract natural resources. Then it becomes something totally different when you decide you want your own people to come work the land. And when you look at like Northern California, on the border of Northern California and Oregon, you look at the marijuana farms that are in those regions. Those are totally farmers. I mean, massive swaths of land where it's totally foreigners who are working these lands. And I think you just touched on it in regards to overlooking the number of people who aren't of Mexican descent coming into the U.S. We always are, we're being led to focus on specifically Hispanics, which kind of puts us at odds, not kind of, it puts us at odds. Meanwhile, while we're at odds, there's a whole other group of people coming in behind us, if you will. I threw those numbers out in regards to 9% black. I think the question we really should be asking is, where are all the black people going? What happens to these black people between now and then for that number to be so small, But I'll stop right there.
Yeah, thank you. And like I say, I agree with what you're saying, Bracy. We look at it because it is in our face. We see it. We see the sheer number, and maybe because we don't see the sheer number of like you were saying, Filipinos and Asians coming in here and stuff like that, Chinese and some of these other nationalities. We see it because it's right there in our face. We see it. We've been seeing it since we've been growing up. We see the border. We see them coming over here. In Florida, we saw years of the Cubans coming over here on the boats and stuff like that, and how they pretty much was welcome with open arms and everything else as well too. When you compare that to even the Haitians, when the Haitians, for the longest, if you was Haitian and you came to Florida, they sent you back. Like it was no ifs, ands, and buts. But if you was Cuban, like they was throwing parades down there in Miami for people and stuff like that. So we see it firsthand, and I agree with you saying. And like you said, it pretty much it almost like it's a whole nother group of people coming up behind that eventually, one day, I guess the way things are going, and from what you said, the Pew research, and I haven't seen that, but what you said, you saw that they're talking about in 2055, which would mean that everybody in here that's got would have grandkids or great grandkids and stuff will be around at that time, if you're talking about dropping from 12 to 13% of the population to 9%, that it's already tough as it is right now. So the fact of the matter that I find it hard to believe that you'd have more Asians in the actual country than black people. But hey, like you say, the way their immigration is working, it wouldn't totally be shocking as well too. So hey, that's one reason. I mean, who you vote for matters at this point in time. And like I say, no matter who you vote for, both sides are really, really still going along with this. I mean, no matter how they play good cop, bad cop, both sides are still championing this as well too. So we've seen it too long. Like I say, it doesn't matter who's the president. You're still having a bunch of illegal people coming over here. It doesn't matter if it's a Democrat or Republican in that. It doesn't matter if they talk tough about cracking down on illegal immigration or whatever. It still is flying. It's still going left and right. So I see we got Texwell up here. Let me go ahead and get the Texwell. Anybody else up in the space as well, too, guys? Definitely come on up here and speak. DJ, you was going to say something?
Yeah, just real quick. What's good, everybody? So shout out to the road text, too. I'll just be quick because I'm on the road. So these people are not asylum seekers. I want everybody to get that shit straight, because when you go listen to the white women down there on the border of Texas, they say these people got all the amenities coming from their country already. And whatever else they're given obviously by our federal government. So a lot of these people are actual regular folks just like us every day that go to work and do what we got to do. So why are they honestly flooding the country? You could say for a better economic opportunity, but like Trump said, a lot of these folks over here too as well, they're drug dealers, they're rapists, they're pedos, they're murderers, they're all that shit too. So let's not make it seem like, oh, you're being bigoted against these people. We don't know you, fam. We don't know y'all from a can of paint. You know what I'm saying? And why are they allowed to put these people into our neighborhoods? Why are black people taking the brunt of everything that's going on? You feel what I'm saying? So that's something to think about right there. Let me yield because I see Popo out here.
All right, real talking. Before I kick it to Texwell, guys, up in the Jumbotron, you got the Newstoter YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed, definitely go ahead and subscribe. We just got over 1,000 the other day, so definitely continue to add to that. If you have not, if you're in the space and you're not following Newstoter here on Twitter, make sure that you go ahead and follow Newstoter. Remember, Newstoter is the largest Black-owned, Black American news media curation platform today in America. Once again, the largest Black-owned, Black American news media curation platform today in America. You can support us on Cash App, $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Any amount helps, whether it's $1, that helps, trust me. $Newstoter, $Newstoter. If you do not have Cash App, we have the Venmo and PayPal up in the Jumbotron. For my people up in YouTube, we have the Cash App on the actual screen, and we have the Venmo and PayPal up in the actual description of the YouTube tonight. Texwell, go ahead and unmute your mic. How you doing?
Pretty good, Brother Newstoter. Thank you for the space. I'd like to send my greetings out to all the family that's here, friends, associates, and the enemies of reparations who are here. I would say that...
Tex, you sound like you was breaking up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of choppy.
Okay, is this better?
It's still kind of choppy.
Nah, you chopped up. You robot gang, bro. Drop down, come back.
Gotcha.
All right. Yeah, he's a little bit choppy there, so hopefully he can come back and he can get up. Love my folks says a large portion of Hispanics are Asians. They were brought to the Americas by the Portuguese and Spain. That's true. The Filipinos, it sounds like you're talking about a lot of Filipinos. Filipinos are like a mixed type race with Spaniard and Asian. So yeah, you're correct on that. All right, let's see if Texwell is ready to rock. We'll give him a second. Tex, can you hear me?
Yeah, appreciate that. How this?
Oh, you say something again. You still sound choppy.
Wow, okay, hold up.
Hey, Tex, update Twitter and update it today. At least anyway, but it might be for iPhone too. Go ahead, bro.
Definitely. All right, y'all can't hear me. I'll just go back.
Yeah, just try to go back down because you still kind of choppy up here. So yeah, definitely come back, see if you can come back. RZA, go ahead and y'all, like I say, for those up in the space, because I see a good number of our people up in here as well too, and I know y'all got something to say because y'all been in these spaces by immigration or whatever, and this is Joe Biden and the wall and stuff, and Joe said he wasn't going to do it. It kind of reminds me back in the 80s, like I was telling Ray when he was up in here. I remember being a kid, and you had the elder George Bush when he was running for president against Michael Dukakis. I was a little kid in elementary, and his most famous line was, "No more new taxes." He kept drumming that in, "No more new taxes." Well, came time he got elected president, it was new taxes. So same with my boy Joe Biden. He was talking about he wasn't going to be building on no wall and this and that. Well, apparently you are building on the wall. So those campaign promises really amount to a hill of beans when it gets all done and said. RZA, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hi, everybody. Again, this is Lorenzo. This is what I want to say.
RZA, you're a little bit low. You got a Bluetooth in?
I had a Bluetooth. I took it out. What about now?
Yeah, you're a little bit louder.
Okay, how about now?
That's good. Go ahead. Just make sure it's turned up as loud as you can get it so the people in YouTube can hear you too.
Okay, you got it. First off, I want to tell everybody, if you get a chance, y'all might want to invest in getting drones. Y'all really need to get drones because then you can fly away from yourself and into whatever it is that you're seeing. Let me tell you why I'm saying that. When the Chinese people came across from where they are over there to the United States to the Mexican side and walked over to the U.S. border, they weren't wearing clothes that looked like they were torn, or you know what I'm talking about, like when you look like you've been through hell trying to get to the U.S. border. No, these people were up there wearing dress shoes, Prada, designer clothes. They look like they haven't suffered a day in their lives. These people are coming over to the United States with money already. And that's the point that I'm trying to get across. Another brother said it best, that these people are not broke coming to the U.S. border. I wanted to say that, and I also wanted to say something about, well, I think I covered it already by saying that until the governments where these people come from, are fixed so that they can hold their own, we're going to continue to see more of this. But I just want you guys to be aware that all of this is happening because their governments aren't doing enough to take care of themselves. And now they're over here copying us, attacking us. In case you guys haven't noticed. Yeah, a lot of it. So what WPI said earlier was 100% on the money. And I also wanted to give a shout out to Bracy, because what Bracy said was on the money. But these people are not going to do anything to get better. They continue to basically suck on the tits of the United States government and taking what revenue that is supposed to be going to us for reparations. And I'll land my plane there.
All right, guys. Up in the jumbotron, we also got funded social up in there as well too. That's on the left hand side. Funded socially, Black majority states, Black owned social media site. So definitely go ahead, guys. Definitely go ahead and create a profile on that. It only takes a few seconds to go ahead and do that. So support Black owned business, guys. We always talk about supporting Black owned business. We got to go ahead and start actually putting that into work as well too. So it's free. Go ahead and create you an account over there and support Black majority state. Go over there and post sometimes from time to time as well too. I already tweeted it out. My link is up in the actual jumbotron. We can go in there. I'm a member of it. I'm letting you guys know you should be too. So definitely go ahead and support Black owned business. Support Black owned business. We got to go ahead and support Black owned business. Textwell, how is the actual how's the reception now?
I updated the app. Did it make a difference?
Yeah, you sound better now.
Oh, good. Thank you, man, for the space, and thank you for the family for being here. Family and also the enemies of reparations who may happen to be in the room. I would say that we really have to really approach these politics in a strategic way, in an intelligent way, because as you said, like both parties have an immigration party. So it's just not like the Republicans are just totally anti-immigration. They might be making a show at the border, but they're also letting in the Europeans, the Asians, and everybody else. So we have to really start going on to like the government websites and see what these politicians are doing. Like you find your politician. I forgot the website. It's a website you can go see all the bills, and you need to go to the Republican Party websites and the Democratic Party websites and really study their immigration policy. So this is like, it's chess, not checkers. That's what I want to say. Because, it's not as simple as you think. And reparations is not as simple as saying fuck the Democrats or withhold your vote or what's the other one? Fuck the Democrats, withhold your vote. There's another thing that we say. It's deeper than that. Because you got to go by local politics and national politics too on a local level. You can't say fuck the Democrats because they're in charge of the city budgets. So what you got to do is make sure that the Democrat, one of those no good Democrats, is going to adapt your Black agenda in a local election. So you got to build a constituency in your neighborhoods of people that have your same agenda. Then you got to pressure all the Democrats that are running in the primary for your agenda, and the one that wants to win will accept your agenda. This is strategic. You can't just say fuck the Democrats, because guess what? They're going to get in office. In certain areas like mine, where no Republican has a chance of winning, I know that the people in charge of these budgets and this policy is going to be Democrats. So on a national level, I may skip the presidential part. I might write in reparations because I know neither one of the presidents wants reparations. But on a local level, you got to be grown up about this thing. We got to get into the details of it, y'all. We got to get in their face. We got to demand an agenda. We just can't turn our back and say, all right, fuck it. You know, that's a lazy, that's work avoidance. That's a lazy man's way of doing politics.
Okay, and what do you, and about the actual Joe Biden and the wall? What do you think about this here?
Yeah, Joe Biden is just posturing, man. He know he gets flack for in these cities. Like the Democrats is really getting flack now for, you know, overriding these black cities with immigrants. And he's just posturing. You know, he said, well, I could use the funds that's allotted. You know, he could have did that months ago. He only did it because of the pressure is on. You know. And it's just a show, you know. Joe Biden ain't about that life. He don't care about us. And so, yeah, he just putting on a little show, trying to look like a tough guy, you know. But this thing is going to really hurt them, I think.
Now, over on YouTube, Love My Folks say sanctuary cities were created at the city council meetings. So, you know, here's the thing. I don't think really that, you know, we talking about, I know you're talking about the Democrats and we're talking about the budgets and everything at the local level, but I don't really think they've learned their lesson either when it comes to these sanctuary cities. Like, they have been the biggest proponents, at least outwardly, and that's not to say that the Republicans aren't either, but outwardly. And even when you have black mayors like Brandon Johnson and stuff sitting up there and telling exactly, Brandon Johnson talked more about what he was going to do for illegals than what he was going to do for black people in Chicago when he was campaigning. He came up with all of it, and we did a space too. And I can't remember all the talking points he had about what about what policies he was going to put in place for them and this and that or whatever. Meanwhile, dude, you got a bunch of black Americans sitting up there as well too. Like, what are you going to do for them? He's not even talking. He started off at one of his meetings talking about black and Asians. I mean, black and Hispanics, or black and Latinos, and then it quickly went. The black just left the whole conversation, and it was simply about what he was going to do. I'm going to create this for illegals. I'm going to create this. I'm going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do this. Like, hey, so I don't really think they really learned their lesson. The thing of the matter was that whether you like Abbott, whether you like DeSantis or whatever, whether you think it was all for show, which a lot of it was simply, you know, putting the migrants up there and sending them to these different cities and stuff like that. Because if you was that hard pressed, you just would have went ahead and took them back to their country. Like, look, y'all can't go ahead and deport them. So you didn't do that, but you sent them up to these northern cities and stuff like that. Because I guess that was a way of showing power to, like, hey, since you guys want them so much, we're gonna send them to your city. Let them be your headache. Let them be your problem. So we'll see exactly what happens with that. Because, like I say, I'm still not totally convinced that I mean, that's nothing more than show with the Republicans as well too, because they have to have, and I said it in spaces before, and anybody knows, they have to have a certain amount of illegals over here as well too, because they want to go ahead and pay them slave type wages, and you know, they want to give them peanuts, they want to give them jobs and stuff like that. They know the average American, and people want to always put on black people. Well, you know, black people don't want to work them jobs, so somebody got to work them. They'll say dumb stuff like that. And a bunch of black people have said too, well, you know, black people really don't want to work that. So somebody got to do that. We got a bunch of jobs out here. We got hundreds of thousands of jobs out here. We ain't got nobody to actually do it. Like, yeah, we got plenty of people out here to do it if you're going to actually pay them a livable wage. If you're going to sit up here and talk about you're going to pay them like it was 1985 or 1995 even. Yeah, well, no. Because guess what? Gas ain't like it was in 1995 when it was 95 cents a gallon and stuff like that. It's $3.50 a gallon now. So, no, you can't pay people like it was in 1995. 1995 is gone. You can't pay people, you know, $7.50 an hour, even $10 an hour when you know, maybe depending on what part of the country you was living in, you know, your rent might have been $600 or something like that back in 1995 or whatever. And rent on average now, you're talking about $1,800. So no, you can't pay people like that. You got to pay people what you want to. They got to keep up with the cost of inflation. We keep talking about inflation and how prices are rising or whatever. Well, they don't mind like raising the prices of everything up except people's actual pay. You want to go ahead and pay people like it was 30 years ago but then you want to work them like a damn dog, and you want to really work black people like a dog. And since black people don't want to be worked like a dog, and so they say, hey, I want to get paid for what I'm actually worth, then you sitting up here talking about, well, black people act like they too good for this and that. Black people don't want to do this and all this other nonsense. And other black people, especially baby boomers, go along with this kind of stuff. They'll sit up here, even a lot of black baby boomers will sit up here and talk, well, when I used to work, when I first got my job, I was making $2.25 an hour. Like, okay, but we're not back in 1970 anymore. Okay, we're not back in 1968. Hell, when I first started working in high school, we was getting paid $4.25 an hour. That was back in the mid 90s. Those days are gone. I mean, come on. So it's always a hey, and it's always the excuse people will say that, well, black people don't want to work this. Black people ain't gonna go out there and pick that stuff out there. Black people ain't gonna be doing that produce. Black people don't want to do that. Yeah, black people will do it. If you go ahead and you pay black people what they worth, they'll go right out there and do it. They've done it before. They'll do it again if you're gonna pay them something. But if it's a job that they should be getting paid $20 an hour, and you want to sit up here and talk about you're gonna pay them $9 or $10 an hour to break that back, then yeah, they're not gonna do it. But then the people that's coming over here, they're coming from a country where if they was making, if they made $20 a day, they was doing good, then hell yeah, they're gonna go out there and do it. So that's what you have to compete with. And then people, like I said, your own people sitting up here telling you don't want to work. Nah, a bunch of black people, a bunch of black men ain't doing nothing. Bunch of black, like y'all stop. Because that's exactly what people want to hear so they can go ahead and start flooding the zone with more people like that. That's exactly the kind of nonsense they want to hear. I know Bracy, who was it? Bracy had his hand up, or was it Texwell? Maybe it was Texwell. He must have shot back down for a second. I know somebody had their hand up, but
I had it up. I took it down.
Oh, okay. I knew it was somebody. I was like, I was gonna get to you, but I kind of got into it. But if you want to add something, though, Bracy, go ahead and add something.
No, I just added in the jumbotron the article in regards to China and India in regards to water. Um, Jewish and Hindus, and the Hindu are the top two as far as household income in the United States. And I think most people would know that number one would be who it is. But I think most aren't aware that Hindus are actually second when it comes to as far as religion based is concerned. We're underestimating how significant and how much water is decreasing in places where there are large populations around the world. And that's playing a big part in people who are looking to come into the United States. We being in the United States, we always think of Mars, and we're led to think of Mars, very remote areas. And if we're going to get away and escape if anything was to go wrong, well, people in other countries, their getaway place is the United States. And I don't mean just like you guys were touching on the idea of not just low level poor people who are poverty stricken. No. People who have top dollar.
Hey, Bracy, Bracy? Is there any way you can turn your volume up a little bit louder if possible?
Am I a bit loud now?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. It sounded like you had like some you had a Bluetooth in or something.
Yeah, I was saying when people from other countries look at locations for worst case scenario when everything goes wrong, they're looking at the U.S. And we're not, and I don't mean just the poverty-stricken people, the people who have the high net worths. And when you're looking at a country, of course, like China, that's government ran. So they're orchestrating who's coming in strategically after they're purchasing the real estate they're purchasing throughout the U.S. And a big driving factor behind that, especially as well as in Lebanon, around the world, some of the wealthiest people you're going to find are the Lebanese. They have water issues there in Lebanon as well. So Lebanon, China, India, water issues. When you look at, I feel a big part of why you have so many people, and you have the California government allowing California to take the decline that is taken because the Colorado River, on a 100% capacity basis, from year 2000 to now, in the past 20 years, they've lost 70% of the volume of water in the Colorado River. Now that's supplying 40 million people out west. So you're looking at issues where you're having people just in the U.S. alone are making their way back east. And if you have an influx of people coming in from the south, crossing the Mississippi, we're in the vast majority of blacks are in the southeastern region of the United States. So I'm throwing all of these facts and figures at you guys to give you some insight as to I can see how they're projecting there be a 9% number in regards to blacks. And I throw it out on the table again. Well, what happened to the black people that are in the southeastern region where the vast majority of fresh water can be found? Just put that out there.
All right, appreciate that. Let me go ahead. I'm surprised we ain't got more hands up in here tonight, but I am definitely surprised about that. But real quick, let me read a comment. I'm gonna read a couple comments, some on YouTube and some here on Twitter. Henry says, "Let 10% of the illegal immigrants be black. The U.S. will call out the Marines, Navy, Army, Coast Guard, Air Force, and NATO on the borders." Can't say I disagree with that. Love my folks said black folks in Chicago thought Brandon Johnson was leading with the pro-black, pro-Hispanic rhetoric just so he could do something for black people too, but he really was telling them his plan. Too many of us think that if we consent to supporting people of color, somehow we'll get a little something too. We've been playing ourselves. So shout out to Love My Folks. Love My Folks has been on a roll tonight. Reza, go ahead and unmute your mic. Now, everybody, if you got your Bluetooth in too, like kind of go ahead because the Bluetooth makes it kind of hard for people that I can hear you, but some of the people on YouTube, they have a hard time hearing you as well. So if you can, we want to try to get the volume up as loud as possible. And definitely with the Bluetooth, it's kind of hard to hear them on there. So definitely go ahead if you can, take the Bluetooth out and crank up your volume as loud, your phone as loud as you can get it.
Okay, just checking out. This is the test. Can you guys hear me okay?
You sound good.
Okay, just want to give a quick shout out to Bracy Research. Go Bracy. Go Bracy. You go boy. I don't even know where to start because he pretty much said it all. Here's the thing about, okay, most people are not aware that water can also be regenerated. The Indian government could have easily adopted this technology. They know what to do in order to be in a better situation, but they never did anything significant since Al Gore was vice president. You see, if you guys ever get a chance, as a reference to global warming, watch the movie An Inconvenient Truth and An Inconvenient Sequel, because as a meteorologist, as a student, Al Gore learned a whole bunch of stuff. To his credit, he was one of the first people that sounded off against global warming. Now, fast forward to today. The Indian government knows that it's better to be in a position to cry foul play or to ask for help from governments like the United States or China. And China and India have something in common with their population. And they have the technology that exists that they don't have to come to us for help. So I'm looking at this situation kind of confusingly saying, why would these two major countries, not invest in their own people and make some changes that will allow them to not only have their own resources in fruition versus, taking U.S. dollars and materials and stuff that we build here. Every time black people are involved in something, things happen. Every time they get people of their country or non-U.S. origin involved in something, there's a problem. There are cracks in the sauce. All I'm saying is that it doesn't matter what the United States does, whether they're helping other people or we're helping them ourselves. Until they give us reparations and put us a part of the major play in how things go moving forward, nothing on this planet will get done the way they think it is. This is our fight against white supremacy. It's one of those elements that's in the place that they don't like, that they don't talk about. But we're putting it to them blatantly. And I'll land my plane there. Thank you guys for being here on the space.
All right. Thank you, Ariza. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You see Black Majority State. I know Black is probably working, so got a number of people up in the space. We're not gonna keep this thing open too much longer. I know unless somebody wants to come up here and talk, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna shut it down early tonight, y'all. Unless somebody wants to come up here and talk real quick, we ain't gonna hold people too long because we're gonna be back tomorrow night to close it out this weekend, to close it out for the week as well. So we got a space coming up tomorrow. We're gonna be talking about interracial dating. We're gonna be talking about Jada Pickett. We're gonna be talking about the girl Kayla Nicole, the one with Travis Kelsey, and everybody cutting the fool about her. We're gonna be talking about T.O., how he was crying, talking about the black women didn't like him because he was too black and all this other nonsense. So tomorrow night, it's gonna be one of them spaces. If you have if you're in interracial dating or whatever, don't take any offense. I'm just letting you know it's gonna be a space like that. We will be respectful. I have no problem with anybody that does the interracial thing. That's your business. But tomorrow night is gonna be that space. We're gonna be talking about Jada, Will. We're gonna be talking about interracial. We're gonna be talking about black celebrities and interracial dating as well, too. So just giving everybody the heads up. We cover the politics and everything else, and tomorrow night is going to be a little bit different as well too. So if you take offense to the topic, I'm just giving you a heads up right now, so you can say, "Oh well, I didn't know." Now you know. Black, I see you up here. Did you want to say something real quick? Because we're going to be closing this out in a minute.
Yeah. How you doing tonight, Newstoter?
What's up?
See, they dropped down. As far as this Joe Biden thing, I think someone earlier talked about and it might have been Bracy, the cycle of these projects, because he had originally sold off a lot of those materials, I think, for pennies on the dollar when he first got into office, and now the fact that he's reversing the policy and then deciding to build portions of the wall is oh God, to me, it's just more signs of the incompetence of him and the administration that he is chief over. But I did want to talk about the water issue because this kind of comes across the timeline and things that I post about. We actually talked about in Louisiana, there's an issue where salt water is encroaching on the Mississippi River and is actually threatening the fresh water that goes into people's homes. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. So there is an issue with the water in the country. That 9% number that Bracy got out, if you have that, could you please send that to me? Because that's an interesting stat there. Everything that I see says that we're going to pretty much remain constant at 14-15% for the next couple of decades, even with the increase in population of roughly 70 million to get to that 400 million goal that the United States has set out for itself. But at any rate, it's interesting because Kamala, and I'm going to try to put it down in your purple box, when her first interview as vice president, I'll say this in a few spaces, she talks about the fact that the U.S. or the world has been fighting wars over oil in the past, and in the future, we're going to be fighting these wars over water. But the interesting thing about that is there is a lot of groundwater in the United States of America, water that we don't see, but it is there. You can go to the U.S. Geological Survey and see all the groundwater that exists. We have our brother Moses West, who's pulling water out of the air to produce fresh water. And then there's also the desalination of water, which several parts of the planet, actually even in America, they depend on this water out in California and other parts of the country. But then over in Israel, they have actually a lot of their water is essentially taken right out of the ocean. They strip the salt from it. It produces brine, which is kind of a toxic substance if you just dump it right back into the ocean. But they are developing technologies to break that down and use it for commercial purposes, break it down into its chemical composition. So I see it as more of another industry like oil, where I don't know if anybody else knows or is aware, but it's not a fossil fuel. The earth produces oil as a natural lubricant. And so in the past, they've seen these wells that were supposedly empty fill back up again because the earth produces the oil. And it's the same thing with the water, where I think this is more of a global corporate control over the water, and they're going to use the industrial military complex to do it. But they want to be able to have people think that the water is scarce, hike up the price of water because they're doing that all over the country because the infrastructure is crumbling apart, and they need ways to produce revenue in order to facilitate, pulling all these old pipes out of the ground, replacing them, monitoring maintenance, and all the stuff that is just a normal part of governing. At the same time, all the corruption that exists because they take money, they get all this money, and then they siphon off funds to their personal bank accounts. So, this is, again, in my opinion, just another corporate rating of a resource that is very, very vital to human survival. And they're just going to, use the climate scare, whatever that is, to try to make people think, oh my goodness, we gotta spend $10 for a gallon of water in the future. And that's just kind of where I'm at with it from all the research that I've done. For us as Black Americans, what do we need to do? We need to figure out a way to get in control over the things that matter most, like food and water and air, because if these people can control the air at some point, they're going to try to charge us for that as well. So I'll just end on that.
All right. Thank you, Black Majority State. Like I say, guys, up in the Jumbotron, we got Black Majority State's social media site up there, funded socially. So, guys, go ahead. That's on the left-hand side. Go ahead. I retweeted that out. Definitely go ahead and get your profile on there as well. Like I said, tomorrow night. Also in the Jumbotron, I have the space for tomorrow night up there as well, too. So definitely check that out as well, too. It's titled Jada Pickett, Kayla Nicole, Black Celebs, and Interracial Dating. We're going to be talking about the interracial dating thing tomorrow night. So we definitely want to hit Black celebrities, a lot of Black celebrities. K. Michelle's been coming out. I guess she's booed up with a white cat. You got T.O., former NFL Hall of Fame player, talking about, the white girls. I guess must have showed them love because the black ones, y'all called them ugly or something. I don't know. But we're going to be talking about a number of that tomorrow. So definitely come into the space. Twizzle, so you came up here. Did you want to go ahead and add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say what's up to the family. I kind of wanted to contribute, but I see you ready to close the space, so I don't want to hold you up, man.
No, you go ahead and get it.
Everybody, how y'all doing?
No, you can go ahead and say something. I'll go ahead. That's why I was trying to get people that wanted to come up here because, we keep the conversation going, but we keep it going as long as it need to go. So, but if you want to add something, that's cool.
Yes, indeed. Well, I've been listening, but I just got in a position to where I've been able to holler. When y'all was talking about the water, it really made me think about. Remember, when George Bush was president, out here in California, in Northern California, in the Bay where I'm at, we get our water from the Sierra. A lot of our water comes from the snow runoff, and it fill up the little reservoirs out here. That's why, like out here I know in the East Bay area, we have some of the best water throughout. When you get about the Bay Area, everybody else's water comes from wells. So when you drink it, you can taste that iron and the ledge. You know what I'm saying? Something about our water to where our water is so natural. When George Bush was president, he went up on our water costs from 200 or some thousand a year to damn near 10 million a year. I forgot who was the governor at the time, but he had to fight it and they repealed it. There's something about our water up here, and what y'all saying is absolutely correct. That water is vital. You see how they're fucking with these fires and how they're fucking with the air. So pretty soon they're going to be trying to charge us to breathe air with breathing apparatus. You know what I'm saying? So once they control the air and the water, they got us under control. because without that, you can't live. You know what I'm saying? We're in a position right now to where it's going to be about survival of the fittest. You know, and God bless the child that got his own. I suggest everybody start buying you them big ass 5-gallon hamper jugs and stack them in your garage and cover them up and keep them cold. You know what I'm saying? Stack up them as many as you can, because the better you are, the longer you can last. The longer you can last, you can out survive motherfuckers. And that's what time it is. It's about to be a war of nutrition. Look at all these wars going on now. Common sense people know. You got the Ukraine shit going on. You just got this shit going on in Israel. Everybody named mama know Taiwan about to pop. You know what I'm saying? And then where is that going to have us? That's going to have us so extended to where we're going to lose our limbs and tentacles like we're fucking octopuses. And boom, where are we going to be? You know? So everybody stack your shit. You know, stack you up on your food, your rations, and your water. And just prepare yourself for the worst and hope for the best. Because it's going to get crazy out. You know, I land my plane, man.
All right, appreciate that, Twizzle. I see RZA, he's got his hand up. Go ahead, RZA.
Thank you. Yo, Twizzle, follow me here on X, also known as Twitter. And for everybody else, too, please follow me if you want to be a part of the space that I'm hosting for how to get interlibrary loans. It'll show you how to get more materials from wherever they are in the country without you having to pay a single dime for them. I'm going to do that space real soon. And if you can, as a prerequisite, please have a library card from your origin library. I'll explain why that's necessary. I also wanted to add to what he was saying. Not only do you want to store up on stuff like that, any device that's able to produce water, like there's some portable devices that are on sale around the world that will allow you to take thin air and convert it into fresh water to drink. Invest in that too, because pretty soon we'll be able to create our own source of water. And water is the primary element we all need to have in our system in order to live a long life. And I just wanted to throw that out there too. What he said is correct. And I did put this in as a tweet to this space, to Bracy. I hope Bracy does research on cesium. When I was much younger, back in the early 2000s, when they had that Fukushima disaster from Japan, I had called the National Oceanic Atmospheric Association, or the NOAA, as well as the State Department, and said, hey, if that water makes it across to the West Coast, it's going to kill all types of fish and aquatic life form. They ignored it. So when Bracy does research on cesium, that's going to be at the heart of the matter. So I'm just throwing that out there for them. Go Bracy, go. And Twizzle, please look me up. Hit me up.
I just followed you, but you know something about that Fukushima nuclear plant, that whole earthquake that happened out there?
Yeah.
See, one thing about out here on the West Coast, right before that shit happened, it was a major flooding of fish that swam into all the inlands, all the coves, all the ports, and all the docks and everything. You can Google this. Right before that earthquake happened, all the ports and everything was just filled with fish. I mean, it was so many fish you could walk on water, dude. You know what I'm saying? Something happened. They did some type of sonic boom that went off and scared all the fish, because you know, right, how
that's right.
Whales be beaching everything. You know what I'm saying? They pushed that boom out there, and that shit had all the fish swimming inland and all them coves to escape that shit. Then boom, look what happened to Japan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that shit was bigger than what they thought.
Yeah, that is bigger than what they thought. And here, the rule is that first there's the earthquake, then it's the tsunami. So if there's a huge earthquake somewhere, expect the tsunami coming right after. Like in Alaska, when we had that 1964 earthquake, we turned around and had a tsunami that was moving at a speed of 100 miles an hour. It even killed people in Century City, California. The same earthquake that triggered a tsunami. Boy, you hit that on the nail. Land my plane. God damn it. He's on the ball.
All righty.
Way to go, Twizzle.
You go ahead. I see Black got his hand up. Go ahead, Black.
Hey, man, I love his enthusiasm. So I was just thinking as they were talking, man, so there was a time when, and I think this was before refrigeration, where they would actually go and tow icebergs in order to bring ice, to like the big cities or whatever. And I've done research on that. They are trying to develop different types of tarps to cover the ice, so that it will remain, so they don't lose as much as they normally would from sun exposure. But that is another, possibility, especially with this climate crisis and these icebergs that break off and everything like that, because that is fresh water that's locked in those icebergs. So I think over time, if it comes down to it, again, it's all corporate. That requires government infrastructure. It requires a lot of effort and energy. But I think at some point there may be a situation where only the wealthy can afford to have water. We think about what's going on in that. Yeah. If you think about what's going over in Gaza right now, they literally cut the water off. They said before that 90% of it or 98% of it was undrinkable anyway, but they literally shut their water off, which to me is insane. Electricity and everything else. So who knows how those people are going to survive over there? It's a couple million people, but this is what these people do. So,
could I throw something at you, Black, for a quick question based on what you were saying? Would you think a form of fracking could play a role? Because the Mississippi is very low right now as well, and based on what you were saying prior to this, it would seem like a form of fracking could take place near rivers where you're depleting the water into the ground. Okay.
No, you're correct. You're 100% correct.
No, I follow you. And you know that you can pull it up from someplace else because water doesn't disappear. It's the same amount of water on the planet that it's always been. It's just a matter of where you're pulling it up from. I follow you. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, man, they're in trouble. We got Bracy. Bracy, if you can, is there a way that you can make all of your information available for everybody to get?
It's I don't know another way to do it. Is if you click on, the icon that you see, you'll see everything there. And whatever you pull me up on, website, Twitter, Instagram, it's the same. Bracy Research across everything, all platforms.
Yeah, because I'm about to share this like a motherfucker. Man, thank you, Bracy. Thank you for being around.
No,
I'll let my plane. God damn it.
Y'all notice mostly all the earthquake-ridden countries and continents are mostly all the most oil-rich continents. Like if you look at Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, and all that, they have huge earthquakes. Didn't they just have one recently that killed so many hundred people? You know what I'm saying? Look over there in Singapore. See, one thing you tell you this: the Orient is a major oil-producing company too. Look at the earthquakes they have over there. Look on the West Coast on how they're drilling over there and cracking off the coast. And boom, right here where I live at, we have this fault line called the San Andreas Fault Line that runs damn near 100 miles up and down California. So we out here on the West Coast, we live in fear every day of what we call the big one. You know what I'm saying? I was around in '89 when we had that earthquake that shook the whole fucking East Bay that made the streets look like the sea. I swear to God, I'll never forget that shit. If you look out your window, and if you have a vast view of your land, imagine it moving like the sea, because that's how the East Bay Hills was moving in that earthquake in '89. So in fear and in shock, everybody lived in infamy of the big one that's gonna come, that's gonna drop half of California into the sea, like how Greece was. You know what I'm saying? And with that, we really, like I say, that's why we really have to be careful and we have to prepare ourselves, man, because these Europeans, these infestations, these diseases, they're tearing this country, they're tearing this world apart just for fucking profit. They're sucking the oil dry, they're cutting down all our fucking trees that give us fresh air for timber, you know what I'm saying? And they melting all our fucking ice just so they can get to that.
Hey, everybody, let's chill on the cursing a little bit because I be getting flagged by YouTube.
It's all good, man. You know what I'm saying? But still, that's the situation that's going on. We're living in a infestation right now where these parasites are devouring this planet. So we have to prepare ourselves. So as my OG always tell me, God bless the child that got his own. So as long as you got yours, you ain't gonna need the government. And that's what it's about right now. I land my plane on this good hump day.
All right, I remember that hurricane, that big one in '89, because I was in elementary. I think they had the World Series going on with the Giants.
The Giants and the A's.
Yeah.
The Bay Bridge World Series.
Yeah, I remember that.
Hey, I'll never forget the news announcers when it happened. They freaked out. They was like the East Coast media was going fucking crazy because they never been through it. But West Coast media, we used to it. We just stand still and ride it like a wave. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how an earthquake is. When you hit an earthquake, don't panic. And if it gets hella big, what you do, you get in your doorway. Don't ever get in a tub or anything. You get in the doorway or you get under the table because when an earthquake, shit folds like a house of cards. You know what I'm saying? And the doorway is the strongest part of the house. Why? I don't know. But yeah, that shit was crazy, man. I kind of like, hey, yeah, that shit was crazy as hell, man. Man, dude, I'll never forget. I was walking down the street. I had just bought a silk shirt because the style back then was the style 50 Cent wear. The baseball cap with the wave cap, silk shirt, sweatpants, and Nike. That was the style back then. So I got my shit. I'm walking down the street. Know I'm finna be saucy. And all I hear was rattling like, a lady come running out the house screaming, dude. And all I do is look down the streets and the streets start boogaloo. You know what I mean? Start moving like the sea, dude. And that was one of the craziest experiences in my life to let me know that us humans are so insignificant on this planet. You know what I'm saying? You ever seen an old school Godzilla movie? Remember when the old school kind when Godzilla came up out the ground, how the ground started moving? That's just how the earthquake was, bro. You know, so that's what we Californians live in, and that's what people who live in the OPEC countries, that's what they have to deal with. You know, I land my plane.
Real talk, guys. On that note, I guess we're going to go ahead and get ready to close it out for the night. So, like I said, we'll be back tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, everybody have a good night. Be safe. Peace. We'll see you tomorrow night, guys. Appreciate you all for coming out to the space tonight. Thank you. Peace to all my people on YouTube as well, too, guys. We'll see you tomorrow night, 8 p.m., 8:10 over here on YouTube time. So we'll see you guys tomorrow night. So peace.